A month ago, my girlfriend and I got engaged. We moved into a new apartment and began living together. It was the first time either of us had shared an apartment, so it was a new experience for the both of us. We were deeply in love. I knew she was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and I thought she felt the same about me. Everything went well until 2 weeks ago, when I noticed that my girlfriend was acting very strange. She had become so attached to me that it felt like she couldn't stand being away from me for more than a moment. One evening, she said to me, "Darling, when you're not at home, I still feel you're near me." I didn't attach much importance to these words. I thought she was just being affectionate. However, a few days later, she told me something else. "Whenever you're at work," she said, "I often hear your voice, as if you were calling my name." This began to happen more and more as the days went by, and I started to get a little worried about her. One day, when I arrived home from work, I found her sitting silently at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the wall with a glazed look in her eyes. I grabbed a chair, sat down beside her, and asked her what was the matter. "I think there's something wrong with me," she said. "Why would you think that?" I asked. "I saw you today," she said. "You walked from the kitchen into the bedroom and then you stood back to me, staring out the window." "But I was at work all day," I said. "I know," she replied with a sigh. That's when I really began to worry. I suspected that my girlfriend was losing her mind and starting to have hallucinations. Over the next few days, she kept telling me that she saw me in the apartment when I was at work. She could even describe exactly what I was wearing. My girlfriend was also acting more and more strange. She was getting more and more quiet, and she was terrified of being left alone. Sometimes she would just sit there silently staring at me. Last night, my girlfriend was very tired and decided to go to bed early. I held her hand and sat on the edge of the bed as she was falling asleep. Just before she nodded off, she said, "You're not here." "Honey, I'm right here," I replied. "Don't worry, everything is fine." "No, you're not here," she said. "You're in the kitchen." Just then, I heard a dull noise coming from the kitchen. It sounded like a chair scraping across the linoleum. Then, I heard the sound of footsteps walking down the hallway. Fear gripped my heart and I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, the handle on the bedroom door began to turn and the door slowly began to open. Maybe it's just a draft, I thought as my eyes grew wide with fear. But it wasn't a draft. The door swung open and I saw a man standing there in the doorway. It was me. It's difficult to describe exactly what I saw. It was me, but at the same time it wasn't me. It was as if I was staring at myself in a mirror, but the other me had cold, lifeless eyes. The other me looked at me for a moment and then turned and left, shutting the door behind him. It took me a moment to recover from the shock, and then I sprang off the bed and ran after him. The hallway was empty. I checked the kitchen, then the bathroom, but he was nowhere to be found. The other me simply vanished. It was terrifying. And then, as I stood in the hallway, trying to figure out what had just happened, trying to calm myself down and convince myself that it was just a hallucination, I heard a faint voice coming from the kitchen. It wasn't my voice. It was the voice of my girlfriend. "We are here to stay," she said. "Forever." I realized that my girlfriend wasn't in the kitchen. She was lying in the bedroom, exactly where I had just left her seconds before. I was so frightened, I started trembling like a leaf. I ran into the bedroom, grabbed my girlfriend, and dragged her with me out the front door. We left in my apartment in that very moment and spent the night in my parents' house. Tomorrow, we will go back to pick up our things. I still can't understand what had happened in that apartment, but neither of us can bear to spend another night in there. Hopefully, when we pick our things up, all will be well and no one will be there.
Have you ever wondered how these animations are made, what program is used, and how hard it is to make one animation? I prepared a special episode in which I am showing you step by step on how I create my videos with answers to backstage questions. I uploaded this short presentation on my Amino app channel, so if you are curious to know more about it, then you can download the app. Search for Mort in the search bar and click on my new story. You can even ask questions in the comments there. Remember, by viewing my Amino stories, you are supporting me. Thank you so much. About a year ago in my final semester in college, I worked at a department store in the mall. I didn't have a car yet, so I asked for the day shifts because it was a 2-hour bus ride back home. So basically, if I had a closing shift, I'd get done at 11 but not get home until around 1 a.m. But sometimes I'd be given a closing shift, much to my annoyance since I had class at 6 a.m. And my mother worries about me because who wants their kid on public transportation at night? My managers, being the jerks that they were, gave me a week of closing shifts, knowing my situation. I was pissed, but whatever. So one night, I had just finished my shift and I got on the bus. I sat in the middle of the bus and was minding my own business with my earbuds in. I usually did that because I didn't like people talking to me, so I made it look like I was listening to music. And I occupied myself by playing a crossword puzzle on my phone. About 5 seats behind me, I hear these guys speaking Spanish. Now my mother is Dominican, but people never know that I am, so while I understand a fair bit of Spanish, I don't speak it. So I hear them talking, but I don't pay any attention because it's rude to eavesdrop. All until they say, "That kid in front of us." Then my ears perk up. I keep my earbuds in so that they think I can't hear them. And I continue to listen. What they're saying is horrific. To paraphrase it, they knew my stop because they've been watching me for this week. And to put it simply, they were planning on snatching me. I heard them say that I'll disappear like the others. I was about 20 minutes away from home, so I knew I had to act quickly. Since I knew they could see me, there were 5 seats behind me, but like a cross, if that makes sense. I pretended to play on my phone, oblivious while I was actually texting my mom. Then all of a sudden, one of the guys moved 3 seats ahead of me, and the other one moved about 3 seats behind me. And we're the last ones on the bus. I text my mom, "Can you please meet me at the bus stop?" 5 minutes go by, no answer. We're getting closer to my stop, so I decided to call her cell. No answer. I'll call the house phone and she finally answers. At this point, it's about 12:30 a.m., so she was asleep. I try to talk as calmly as I can. This was our conversation. "Hey mom, did you get my text?" No, what's up?" "Oh, I sent you a picture of these jeans I'm gonna order online when I get home. I really need your opinion, so I really need you to look since the sale ends at 1 a.m. She gets the hint that I need her to look at her cell phone. So I say goodbye and I hope for the best. I tied my Adidas very tight. We get to my stop and I see my mom's car. I stand up. Then the man in front of me stands up. Then the guy behind me stands up. I snatch my stuff and I sprint to the door and I got off the bus with both men behind me, both yelling at each other to grab me. I didn't even look behind me. My mom sees the whole thing and jumps out of the car. I yell at her to get back in the car because they couldn't catch me. I hauled ass. I jump in the car and I tell my mom, "Just go." I look in the rear view and I see the guy staring at the car. The next morning, I called my job and I tell them that I quit. No more public transportation for me. Thanks to my mom for teaching me Spanish, and thanks to my mom for getting the hint.